Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like it wasn't. There we go. Good evening and welcome to what is now, I believe, round 3 of the Trek Titan Community Race Series here at Silverstone with Praga and Tatuus. It's two cars that you wouldn't really see together if it wasn't for sim racing here, but we are here up and running. There was a few delays behind in the background, but luckily everything seems to be running smoothly now. Obviously, we are using what would be the bop. I think I keep forgetting which car has the bop. I believe it's the Tatuus. Yeah, it's the Tatuus that must have the bop. They're obviously the cars that are the lighter, the higher downforces, and definitely have the better traction as well. Both of these cars do not have any sort of electronic assistance at all. They're both obviously complete stock in terms of it. No ABS and no traction control, which will make it a tiny bit interesting. More the ABS on the sides of it compared to the traction control. We obviously know these cars can lock up pretty easily when the tires overheat just a tiny bit, and especially going into some of those more brake reliant corners like Luffield, for example, which we are coming up to now on the Wellington Straight, is going to show us how reliant ABS needs to be in more modern cars. Obviously these cars are quite modern, the Tatuus being from 2012 I believe, and the Praga R1 being from 2013, so they're both in the same rough generation period, but obviously both of them having the FI regulations. They do not have the electronic assists there like what we would see in GT cars here. We are in qualifying right now. It is just currently the first few people going around on track. Everyone's still on their outlap, as we can see on board with Memcube now. One of the Tatuus drivers here, as we can see, currently on going into Stowe, I believe. It does seem he is still on for his outlap. It doesn't seem anyone has set some sort of valid time here. We do see there was a 2:29 there by dusk set, as we can see, as we're on board with him right now. But these times are just the outlap, so they're not going to be the actual times. It's actually going to be quite a short qualifying session as well. As we can see, there's only 7 minutes left, as you can see on the timer in the top left of your screen, unless it's mirrored. But it is definitely one of the shorter qualifying sessions, and especially like a long track like Silverstone, it is going to lead to practically only 3 laps of qualifying. And knowing it's some of the reliability and consistency of this server I was seeing free practice, that might be a struggle for some. I'm not going to say who, but as it stands right now, everyone has set somewhat of a valid lap time, even though it's their outlaps. We are on board now with Dusk as he comes across into what would be turn 1 for the GT panel here at the old F1 straight, going into Corpse now, the fastest corner on the track. Obviously in these Tatuuses are pretty much flat out if you take the correct line. Obviously most people will be using the mediums or softs here for tonight. This race, it's a 15-minute race, so it's again a relatively short race. There's obviously the 2 races, the second race obviously being the reverse grid that we will see. 50 minutes isn't a long race, but looking at some people's judgments on the tyres, the softs might not be the way to go, actually, just by seeing how hot the track actually is, apparently. And as well as that, just not going to be lasting that long. We might see people, well, trying the soft tyres, but I do think they might wear out pretty quickly and just overheat. So if you spin, you might be even more screwed than you were originally, as we can just see the glowing brake discs there as we go on board with Dusk now as he goes through the final corner. Doesn't take any of that sausage curb on the right on the inside, going through the final corner. Absolutely deadly, as everyone knows, as he goes across the line with a 2:06.3 there as he goes on into Abbey now. It is going to be the fastest lap time we've seen so far, as we are on board now with the closest person. It does seem to be locked up, and that is going to be one of the examples of what lockups we will see here for tonight. Unfortunately, he was on for quite a good time there, and he is going to be demoted all the way down to P6 now as we go on board with Memcube here. Does seem he is improving. It seems as we go back on board with Dusk now, it does seem Fake Mellow has set a time as well with a 2:09 there, which is a 2.9 second gap between the two drivers. So there is quite a big gap between the two, as well as Martin, who has just set his time with a 4.6. So it seems Dusk seems to be the fastest driver here, well, is the fastest driver in the server so far, unless we see some sort of improvement from the rest of the grid here. As it stands, though, half of the grid haven't been able to set valid flying laps yet, as we do see Dusk is about to do his second one as he goes in. As we do see there's quite a few disconnects, so hopefully everyone gets settled in before the races here, as we go into Corpse now with the 74 Tatuus, it seems. He comes across, obviously, one thing I need to say though, no skins are loaded because I wasn't giving any skins here for tonight. But if you do want to see your liveries in game for next race, please DM me below in the Discord. Aces is pretty easy. I think I'm the only aces in the Discord. So obviously just throw me a DM with your skin and I'll get it in for next race. But if not, then no need to panic as we do go on board. Now, back with Fake Mellow, who does seem to be the most promising driver to actually make some sort of a fight here with Dusk, but it does seem to be still quite a big time difference between now Fake Mellow and Dusk. Martin behind with 4.6 seconds as we still haven't seen Equin, Mem or Skittle just yet setting their valid lap time so far. It's Tommy as well as Max, and then obviously it does say Aces in the bottom there. Obviously I'm not racing, I'm here as a commentator, so you won't see me actually racing here tonight, so that is just going to be a placement holder unfortunately. But it does seem so far no one is actually improving at a significant rate as we look at the delta on the timesheet. It does seem Martin's the only one to be on an actual hot lap, but he is plus 1.7 seconds up. Means he isn't going to be setting any sort of astronomical lap here as he goes across into the start finish straight here. Goes across the line. Isn't going to be much of an improvement, but it is going to be an improvement. And in fact, it's going to be really close now between Dusk and Martin here. Now 7 tenths between the two drivers, one in the Praga and one in that Tatuus there. Now 7 tenths between them both for 2:06.7 was his lap time there, as we still need to see Mello try to fight for this top 3 here. The top 3 starting to become a bit closer now, as we do see Tommy saying his fastest lap time of the race so far, number 2:12.2 I believe it was. Now 6.4 seconds behind the leader here. So go back on board with Skittle as he comes across the line there. He goes all the way up and promotes himself into P3 there with a 2:07.6. So it's starting to get relatively close now between the top 3. Back there, just had to reset my microphone. Does seem no one has improved in, well, at a significant rate here. We do see Tommy has gone down to 6 seconds between him and the leader, but that seems to be all that has gone on now, with only 45 seconds left of qualifying now, so just under a minute. This will be the last lap times for many of these drivers here. Dusk now in P1. P3 now coming across the line. He might actually make an improvement here. It does seem he's not going to be able to make an improvement for his final lap time now. He's just going to be able to make a new lap time now going onto it. Is he going to be able to do a flying lap time here, Skill? As it does seem Fake Mellow, unfortunately, spinning, and that's going to be the end of his qualifying session here for tonight. Skittle, though, on the other hand, was able to go for one final lap time as we go aboard with Equin as he goes up into P3 there. 2:06.6 I believe it was. Now it is just going, no, 2:06.8, sorry, as it's now just down to 8 tenths between the top 3. Getting relatively close here, but Skittle seems to be setting some sort of a promising lap time so far as we go on board with him going into Luffield here. Again, got to be quite difficult for these cars to break going into Luffield now as the top 4 into the 8/10 territory. As we do see, it's going to be Memcube going up into P2 there with a 3/10 gap between him and P1. As now we go on board with Skittle as he comes through Woodcott. He seems to still be somewhat making some time here. It does say on the bottom left, though, that he's currently in his positive delta, but I believe that's not going to be true. I believe something is wrong with the unfortunate overlays that I am currently using. But we do see now him going through into Maggotts Beckett. Now, as you can see, his headlights just in the distance there. He is actually quite lucky on where he was positioned on track to be able to do one final lap time. I believe he crossed the line with 2 seconds to spare. So he was very lucky with that there. As we go on down the straight going into Stowe here, he goes really wide there, taking all of the track. In fact, he might lose quite a bit of time there. Probably very inefficient there. As we go into Stowe there, he takes it quite wide as it steams. Takes it a bit more wider than you would have expected him to, but look, just trying to cut all of the excess you can going through. The exit of Stowe there is now we go into the final chicane here. 2 weird little positioned corner here. So we go into the first chicane, and then we have the very steep right-hander and the very unforgiving sausage curb on the right, as I said earlier, as he comes across the line now. And he isn't. Is he going to be able to prove? No, he is not. He's going to plop himself down into P5 there. And that is going to be the end of qualifying here. Everyone has set the time here, apart from Max. So Max has seemed to get one more time, as it seems to be going to overtime now. So we will go into race 1 as soon as it is. His last lap has been made here. It isn't going to count to anything now, because he is obviously already, as you can see, the checkered flag is next to his name as he does go through the final corner into start finish straight as he goes across the line. And it isn't going to be obviously a valid lap time there, so I'm not sure why he's still able to go around yet, because it does seem his overtime, and it does seem everyone is just waiting on him here, unfortunately. But that is all to play for us. We can just see again how much he is actually locking up going into some of these corners, just because of how much brake you're actually using. As you can just see, as he goes very wide there, and he is going to spin, unfortunately, as he is going to be practically facing the wrong way as everyone's back into pits now, as we do now wait for the race to go here, as we just go back onto the intermission screen for the time being. The full Silverstone track will probably have us probably 7 laps of racing here tonight, so there's not many laps here, but I reckon just because it is quite a sparse grid here for tonight, we will hopefully see some good action between the top 2, as they are very close. Well, the top 4 are quite close as well, to be fair, but we might see some better action in the bottom of the pack as well, as it seems to still be going into overtime as we speak. No sort of signs of the grid transitioning just yet, so we just wait for that to happen. Do you see we're going into the first race? It almost seems like we went through. I'm not sure what's happening with the server. I'm not sure if there's a server issue or if this is just how AC works. If you can't tell, this is my first time doing this set of course race. Actually, I've not even said who I am. I'm Ace is also known as Alex. I am a commentator in ACC primarily. I have done iRacing in the past. I've done a few AC bits, but I wasn't the one broadcasting it. So that is a bit of a different, well, I guess, environment for me. My most, I guess, achievable moment would be Motorsport UK FIA graded TCUK esports that I'm currently still doing in the middle of the season, alongside the F1 esports, well, the original F1 esports commentator Chris Buxton, as well as John Muro. We still wait now for the server to go through qualifying. I'm starting to think there might be a tiny bit of a time delay between each period here, so that is probably why. We are finally on to racing here for tonight. So we go back on board in game. We have a 40-second time here as we do wait now. As you can see, Silverstone circuit based in Silverstone or Towcester in England. It's a 5.8 kilometer track. Lap record set by Max Verstappen, which has actually been broken apparently now with the RB17 in Sims, with a 127.097 by Max Verstappen. And that's all we have here for the circuit information here. Obviously having various different options of how you race the circuit. You have the national, you have the international, and then you've got the F1 GT layout. So there is many layouts here, and it has changed quite a bit over the years as well, as you could expect. One of the more historic circuits here of what we have tonight is we have seen the 5 green, well, it's currently 5 grey lights here, but now they go red as we see all 5 green lights. Oh my god, sorry, I'm having a stroke. All 5 red lights go here as we do see now. This is going to be P1 getting away already, so we go on board with him here, and we can see in the mirror so far everyone gets it done quite nicely, as it's still going to be able to him getting quite a good run here at dusk here. So we can see it has been Skittle going up into a position here. Skittle actually getting quite a few positions done on the straight here, as we can see it's happening more and more down the order as well. It does seem it's going to be a bit of a lockup there by one of the drivers. I'm not sure who is going to be behind, as it's not letting me change camera. This is annoying, but it does seem he is going to be able to get past, it seems. I'm just going to quickly just try and find where this auto camera thing is, because it's absolutely awful. There we go. Do you see Memcube now in P4 going through Luffield? We do see now P3 and P2 Skittle and Martin both ahead of them, as he does go for the inside line there. Sorry, as it does seem it went awfully wrong for himself there. Unfortunately, he's going to cross into another car, and that's going to be three-way collision for the 3 drivers. Unfortunately, that was what we call a dangerous exit. Unfortunately, I'm trying to enter back onto the track, and that's just going to lead in practically tears for the 3 drivers there. The stewards will not be happy with that. They will be back at it later, obviously, with post-race stewarding as usual, as we do see now Dusk being able to get into the lead still already, which is pretty impressive to say the least. Max, on the other hand, now just practically in no man's land. He has been able to gain quite a few positions though because of it, as I still have to find this. Where is the... I don't know where that is, the auto camera, unfortunately. Where is the auto camera? Give me a minute, sorry about this. There we go. Apologise for that. We are back though, and ready for the rest of the racing that we have here for tonight. As we do see there has been quite a big gap now between the first 2 and 3 drivers. Actually, there's now about a 1.9 second gap between Dusk and Skittle. Now between Skittle and Martin there is about a 3-second gap now, as we can see on the live timing board that we have on the left. Fortunately, that is going to be what's going to happen with these smaller grids, but it does seem though actually Skill's starting to make a bit of an improvement on this time here, as he is just slowly shaving his times down now, as it just went down 3/10. So he is slightly better in certain corners there, but he is on the soft tyres we have to take into consideration. Tommy, unfortunately, going into the pits. I think that is going to be our first retirement from the race here for tonight. But as it stands, he has just been able to shave at practically a second out of Dusk here, but he is on those soft tyres as I mentioned earlier. So how long will those soft tyres actually last until the tyres are completely degraded here? Dusk being on the medium tyres will have a slight disadvantage for the first few laps while the softs are still in their primary lifespan. But when they start to decrease, as we can say, it's actually starting to happen here, as we do see Martin as well starting to gain quite a bit of time there. Both of those cars being on the soft tyres, so they're quite consistent with each other as it stands. But now with only 11 minutes left to go in this race, can Skittle and Martin's tyres hold up in these Pragas? I'm not sure how much better the soft tyres on the Pragas are compared to the Tatuuses. There were some people complaining about the Tatuuses tyres lifespan, as we do see that it has been an overtake further down the grid here. So actually that's unfortunately going to be Mello spilling there. I'm not sure how that's happened. I'm assuming it's going to be the unfortunate just getting on the grass at the wrong time there, as that is just seeming to see what we see every time here, unfortunately. Now as we do go back on board with Skittle, who is actually losing a lot of time here. It seems Dusk is really consistent there in that Tatuus as we go on board with him, going into the final chicane here as we have 10 minutes left of racing as we enter onto the second lap here. Go on board for a full lap here with him. Will he be able to decrease his time there? 206.4 being the purple lap time here from Dusk here. Skittle doing a 207 as well as Martin doing a 207.2. So there's actually a bit of a battle that could start be brewing between Skittle and Martin here. Martin having the better lap time just by 3/10 though, so it is very, very fractional how much he is actually gaining. But over time that can be quite a lot of the time. We only have 10 minutes left of racing, as I said, for this first race. The second race being reverse grid, as we all know by now, as it does seem. Now Skittle actually losing some time again, but then again that's going to be what's happening with the unfortunate part with the drag that some of these cars produce, especially the Tatuus. That is going to produce a lot more drag because of the downforce compared to the Praga. They're both going to produce quite a bit of downforce as well as a bit of drag, as that is going to be Tommy unfortunately spinning there on the exit of Woodcock. I can only assume he just went on to the grass a tiny bit on the apex, as we can just see slightly on the camera angle there. It doesn't seem he's going again. Is he going to start going? Or is he trying to get a safe exit? It does seem he is going again. How much damage does he have? Seems quite a bit of damage, to be fair. You can just see how wonky his wing actually is on the left. And that's very unfortunate. That might be a race ruiner here for Tommy as well. Tommy already being a lap down, so he has went into the pit, so he is still going here. Tommy currently down in P8 in the number 9 Praga 01, but he keeps trying to put his the accelerator down on the grass there, which again, in every sim and even real life, that just doesn't work. You need to be really careful on the grass there, especially with the no electronics that these cars have. So the TC would help a tiny bit in terms of that, but we do see actually now Skittle going to the lead there, so I'm not sure what's happened between the two leaders here, but it does seem Dusk losing the position to Skittle, so I'm assuming he might have spun at some point here. But obviously with Skittle, I'm not sure what's up there. I think the leaderboard just broke it on a bit, but obviously seems Dusk is still in the lead here. But this is where the battles start happening between the two Pragas here. It does seem though Martin is significantly quicker than Skittle at the moment by just under a second between the two drivers. We do see he's actually going to get the slipstream here going into Farmer's Curve. Is he going to try out brake him here? Obviously just being very careful on the braking here with the no ABS that these two cars have, as it does seem just going to be on the rear of each of these cars. Going to have again the slipstream. Skittle starting to be a bit more consistent now as we enter the GT start finish straight. You're going into corpse, but it does seem the slipstream seems to be really effective here for tonight's race, as it does seem he comes closer to Magnus and Becker's here. They nearly go side by side here. It looked like by the vision that we had they were going side by side, but they weren't, as it does seem though now two drivers being 4/10 within each other. Going to lose a lot of time to the leader now. This is going to be quite a relief for Dusky, if he wasn't already relaxed enough here. But again, with the reverse race that we have next, it's definitely going to provide some really good racing in terms of the faster drivers being at the back, and then obviously the slower drivers being at the front as it stands. To go on board with the wheel arch here. This is an interesting camera to say the least, getting really slightly there through Stowe. Seems he's still going to be able to keep it there. Starting again a tiny bit more time Skittle here as we go and see what the lap times are going to be. It's 2:05.9 by Dusky, it's a 2:07.9 and a 2:08.1 there by Martin. So there is a bit of a difference here in favour of Skittle here. So Skittle's starting to put the pedal to the metal just a tiny bit as we enter and approach onto lap 4 now. Still all over the rear now, Martin. So it is going to be the battle between these two, as we do see it's actually going to be close between, yeah, it's going to be a bit close between Mello and Max here, as it's now just going to be under a second, but well, just under a second, as you can see on the timing board between the two drivers. But it seems though Max is relatively slower than Mello at the moment, as we can see as well. Memcube doing a 209.3, so he has to try to do a tiny bit of catching up, to say the least. Dusk is spun there. That is going to again put a huge spanner in the works here for the leads of the race now, as we do see Skittle has been promoted into the lead momentarily, as we do see now Martin all over the rear of him. Now, yes, we do also see Dusk is also still involved with this. He hasn't lost too much time here because of how much of a lead he already had at the start of this race. Now, 5 minutes. Can Dusk get these two moves done in 5 minutes? It does seem going through Corpse. It's going to be very wide here for Martin. That's going to probably be a track limit for himself there, as we can see now Skittle starting to create a bit of breathing space between him and Martin behind, as we do see the flames coming out of the exhaust there. We go and into Maggots and Beckers here. So it's going to be Dusk again. Dusk has overheated his tyres here, and that is going to be an unfortunate case here for the Tatuus here. That is going to be any hopes of him winning today's race practically chucked out the window here, as it's now gone down to a 13-second gap, may I say, as we go back on board with the leaders here. This is going to go side by side going into Stowe now, as it does seem it's still going to be Skittle leading this ever so slightly though, as we go into the final chicane, and it is still going to be Skittle having it, as we do see Equin's going to be able to get by Dusk as well, with Dusk's unfortunate spin going into Maggots and Beckett. So as we can see now going back on board with the leaders, we go into the start finish straight. It's going to be very close between them, as they're practically neck on neck with each other here, as we go into Abbey for one of the final times here actually. It does seem it's still going to be in favour of Skittle, but very, very slightly here, as we can see now Martin's still actually gaining a tiny bit of time now as we go into Farmer's Curb for the penultimate time here for race 1, as it does seem Skittle is working quite well under pressure, but with these cars having no ABS, I reckon if you make just the slightest mistake under braking, you are going to lose that position very easily here, as we go in to the Wellington Straight going into Luffield. Again, quite a big gap now has broken between the two drivers of 5/10 now, which is going to be good here for Skittle, as the slipstream is not going to be very effective there, as we can see a bit of a lockup there by the white Praga of Skittle there. That is going to lead to him to lose a lot of time now to Martin behind us. It's gone down to 3/10 here, just lost 2/10 from that small mistake. As I said earlier, it's so easy to lock up in these cars if your brakes are already quite warm, as it is now going to be the two drivers down to 5/10 here, going on to the penultimate time, going through Corpse here. This is usually where Martin catches up. It seems to be his stronger side of this track, as well, as we can see Skittle is going to be struggling on his tyres a bit more, as they're both on the soft tyres though. But from what we saw, to be fair, going into it, Skittle obviously locking up his tyres. He's going to have flat spots. They could be quite severe flat spots. He could have quite bad graining as well at this point, same as Martin if he's pushing it at probably 100% here. So go down Hanger Straight here. Again, the slipstream starting to play here, especially on how much drag there is on these cars. The slipstream produced is going to be quite immense here, as he was able to promote himself up to about 2/10 between the two drivers. Dust going up back into P3 here, so at least he might have a chance of a podium here, as he was able to get by Equinox here. As Equin's going to try go for a bit of a dive here going into Stowe. Isn't going to work though. He was able to defend the inside line there, the Tatuus of Dusk, and it's still going to be him maintaining P3 here. Can he catch up with the two drivers of the Pragas in the front two spaces right here at the moment? I don't think so, but how much these two drivers are currently fighting, it could be possible that they might have a bit of an incident. There's only one lap left as we approach into Farmer's Curb for the final time here for race 1. Here, this is going to be their only chance of actually, well, potentially winning here for tonight with the reverse grid. It could add an extra challenge, or will add an extra challenge here for the drivers here for tonight. As we do see now going aboard now, it's going to be Martin. It's going to be Skittle in P1, Martin in P2, Dusk in P3, Equinox in P4, Mello in P5. As there's going to be a bit of an attempt there by Martin as he goes into Luffields for the final time here. Skittle just having to defend for just about a sector and a half to go now. Can he provide that as we go into Woodcote for the final time? He is still ahead, as we can see. As we go on board with Chase Camera once again, we can see him in the virtual mirror as well, just how much he is with the proximity arrows now in play here. This is where he wants to start creating a bit of a gap. This is Martin's favourite part of the track, well, strongest part of the track. It might not be his favourite part of the track as we enter the straight before Marcus Beckett. They seem to be going almost side by side here. This is not good for Skittle's case here because there is a huge straight of the Hanger Straight coming up now before going into Stowe, which is going to provide some really excellent slipstream here for Skittle. Not for Skittle, so for Martin from Skittle's car. As we do now approach onto the Hanger Straight, this is where we're going to use the proximity arrows for a rough example to see how much slipstream he is going to actually gain here. Sometimes F1 drivers will weave a tiny bit to try to break the drop, but actually no drop was actually provided there. As we do see, unfortunately, Dusk has been provided the yellow flag. He is going slow into Luffield there, so I'm assuming something has gone wrong there. Obviously, there is Skittle still being able to go ahead. There was a bit of a mistake there from Martin, but they go across into the final chicane for the final time here. It's going to be Skittle going to take the win here for the first race of the day at Silverstone in the Praga FA01, followed then by Martin in P2. So that is going to be a great job from the two drivers there. As actually, no, this is the final lap now. I didn't know that actually. I think we just actually went through it on the final time, so that was actually a bit of an unfortunate time there for myself. But we do actually see now it's going to be Skittle still going to be able to hold it here. Can he hold it for another lap? It looked very, very ropey on the first time we went through. So actually, this is going to be Martin spinning here. That's actually going to play a major play here. And again, that's going to be probably ABS playing quite a big part there and why he spun and just braking probably a tiny bit too much. And then he just turned the car a tiny bit. Braking and turning, especially with no ABS, causes severe understeer, but can also cause quite severe oversteer as well. So now it has increased to a 9-second gap between the two drivers, and that is going to be Skittle comfortably in the lead unless he obviously makes a mistake as well. It just seems we haven't seen actually that many people make mistakes here on tonight's race, well, first race anyway. I predict the reverse grid race will probably provide some pretty chaotic racing. Obviously, we did see that huge crash onto lap 1 here, but we do now enter the straight before Marcus Beckett's for the final time here on board with Skittle. As he goes through Maggots, he is going to probably try and take the fastest lap time as well at this rate. Skittle going from P4 all the way to P1 here, so it's been an absolutely excellent fight here for himself. As he comes across into the Hanger Straight for the final time, as we do see just in the horizon as well, we do see Martin's car probably quite bummed out about that small mistake that could have been easily prevented just by lifting just a tiny bit. Unfortunately, there it does happen. That's now going to be him going through the chicane for the final time, as he is going to take the win here for tonight's first race at Silverstone in his Praga FA01. So it's starting to show Praga domination here, as it's going to be a Praga top 3 here as he comes across the line to take P1 here. It's going to be Skittle taking the win here for the first race, followed then by Martin coming in P2 in the Praga FA01, number 36, as well as Equin, who is 25 seconds behind. So there is quite a big gap here between the two drivers, but we do see Dusk as well behind. Dusk, unfortunately, having another spin incident going into Woodcart, so he has quite good potential here, but fortunately it isn't going to be enough here for tonight, as Equin is going to be coming home in P3 here, as well as now we see Dusk coming home in P4, as well as Mello coming across the line now. It's starting to get quite close between the two drivers here, as that's going to be Mello in P5 and the number 9 Tatuus as well. This is going to be Max coming back into P6 here after quite a interesting race for himself, to say a lot. Now with Memcube just coming down the Hanger Straight with 1 minute 27 gap here between him and the leader, so quite unfortunate for himself. I believe he was one of the driver that was involved in the hefty incident that we saw. I believe it was on lap 1 there, and this is going to be our grid shift tonight. Does seem he's actually struggling to control that car there. He's in the medium car, on the medium tyre, sorry. So that is going to be him spinning it out again. It's going to be quite ropey for himself here. It does seem Tommy, unfortunately, retired from the race here for tonight, as we do have to wait for Memcube to cross the line as he comes through into the final chicane here. Now, I believe there is one person on controller. I'm not sure who the guy is who is on controller, but we do see him now come through the fast right-hander, and this is going to be him coming home in P7 for the first race yet, And that is going to be our grid here for tonight. Skittle taking P1, Martin for P2, Equinox for P3, and then it's going to be Dusk in P4, the highest scoring Tatuus here. And there's going to be Fake Mellow in P5, Max in P6 in the Praga, Memcube here in P7 in the number 10 Tatuus, and then Tommy, unfortunately, who did not finish the race, going to take home practically nothing here. In P8 with 5 laps down. And that is going to be the first race over. We have that reverse race that is coming up now. Unfortunately, there is going to be a bit of a wait now between the two races, obviously, just as we wait for the server to tick on, as we saw during the first race. That is usual. If Skittle is actually listening into this, I would actually like to interview you after the second race, because that was quite intense to say the least. So if you are listening, I forgot. I think is it Virgo or Argo? I forgot. Yeah, I think it's Argo. His name is, or I think he's. I think I said it wrong. But I would like to see you after the race into the interview room. I'll ping you in that as well later if you are not aware of it. As we do go on to the second race here. I believe, as it seems, no, we haven't ticked over just yet. Now we're still waiting for the server to tick over. I'm not sure what's taking so long again. I believe it's just AC being AC. But it will be ticking over soon. There we go, finally ticking over here as we get ready to go green for the second race. We still have, obviously, the I think it's a minute countdown actually here until we go green here for the final race of tonight. As we can see, it is the reverse grid that we saw. Tommy still being in P8 just because he didn't finish the race, so he will start from the back. Unfortunate there for him. Now, as we do see, this could be Memcube's opportunity to try and take pole position here for this race. It's his best opportunity. Starting in P1, if he can maintain it, he will be able to take home P1. Easier said than done, though, unfortunately, as we do now see 8 seconds until we go green here. We do see the lights have appeared now as we get 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And we are green here as they go, 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 go. As we do actually see it's going to be an awful start there from Memcube. Unfortunately, it's going to go 3 wide almost there. As we do see it's going to be there. One of the other Tatuuses already being able to overtake Memcube. I believe that was going to be Max RS. And that is going to be him going up into the lead. No, it's not. So that's going to be Fake Meadow, who's already been able to promote himself into lead. It's going to go side by side here, going into Farmer's Curb, though. He's going to be able to regain his place here. It's going to be a bit more of a lunge here, going into the loop before going into Wellington Street. He was able to regain his position, a tiny bit of a tap there between the two drivers. It's going to be a tiny bit of an aero damage there for Memcube, unfortunately, but it's going to be him going up into the current order, as we do see Equinox already going up into P3 here. So a brilliant start from himself here, as that is going to be a current order here, as we do see Skittle as well, quite close between each other, but it's still going to be Mellow versus Memcube here. If they battle a bit too hard between each other here, it's actually going to be quite bad, as we do see there's only 3 seconds here between the top 3. So if they start battling too hard, all of that time is going to absolutely disappear. as we go through the GT start finish straight for the first time. As now they go side by side going into corps. We have seen this before, never has gone well, but it seems to have gone well here, as we do see Memcube has been able to regain P1 here, as he now has the slipstream here. Mellow, as we go through Megan Beckett, not going to be the brilliant corner to go through with dirty air for obvious reasons. But here we do see it's still going to be relatively calm between the rest of the grid so far, which is good to see. There hasn't been catastrophic incidents. It seems Max has gone up to lead, but that is not true. It's because he obviously hasn't finished his lap, and it doesn't seem he has started. I believe he might have started. But again, it seems Memcube already starting to create a bit of a gap for himself there. In terms of tyres, now they're both going to be on the medium tyres. Obviously, going to be the easier tyres for those Tatuuses, but we do see now as well going further down. Some of these Praga's starting to get a tiny bit rough with each other here. Now, this is going to be Equinox, who's currently in P3. Wasn't P3 last race. Now looking to lose this position to Skittle behind, who was the original race leader from last race here. See all of the Pragas all in a row here, apart from Tommy, who unfortunately doesn't seem to have the best of races here for tonight. It is going to be him going through Farmer's Curve, and it is going to be him still ahead, but it is just very, very little how much he is ahead now between the two drivers. But it does seem Skittle is gaining, as you would expect from a race winner, obviously. It's this famous saying, it's one thing to get close to a driver, it's another thing to get past one. Now, as we do see him coming closer, approaching it, as well as Memcube and Fake Bello, now just down to a second between each other, as we have 12 minutes of racing left to go. 6 laps left. Finishing the first lap, as we do see, it's going to be Max, unfortunately spinning there going into left field. I'm assuming that is going to be contact there between the two Pragas there, so I'm not sure what's happened there. It's obviously no replays that I can unfortunately see in today's race. $11 minutes left to go. It's starting to settle down here between the drivers. It does seem, though, it might actually be Equinox losing the position to Skittle, as ever so slightly we do start seeing Skittle chipping away at Equinox's time here, as it's just gone down to 1.5 seconds now. And obviously with the slipstream, it might be quite presentable here, as we do see Dusk about to be overtaken here. No, this is going to be Equinox actually overtaking Fake Mellow here for position, so another battle that's about to lead on between the two drivers. It does seem Memcube has created quite a big gap for himself so far, with 10 minutes of racing left to go, which is definitely good for when the time comes when some of the faster drivers have gotten past the rest of the field here. But Equinox just trying to get past Mellow as quickly as he can. We do see the fastest lap time seems to be at 2:07.8 so far by the Tatuus, currently in the lead of Memcube and the number 10 Tatuus, obviously. We do see now Equinox trying to get ever so closer to now what is going to be Fake Mellow. So it does seem Fake Mellow goes very, very wide into the Farmer's Curve, just locks up a tiny bit going into the loop. Now it is going to be Fake Mellow still being able to hold on to his position, but now because of this, Skittle has got chaos up, and it's going to be a three-way battle here for the lead, and it is going to be now Equinox under pressure from Skittle here as he goes side by side going into the Wellington Straight. I'm not sure if he was able to get the position there, so we do see it's going to be Skittle going up into P2, and that is definitely what he wants. It's going to be 3 wide here. Oh, this is getting very, very rough here as we go into Luffield and Woodcut, as it seems there's going to be a tiny bit of door rubbing between the two of Equinox and Fake Mellow. Who's going to be able to take it though? Obviously, this is going to be brilliant here for Skittle. He's going to be able to try run away with it, but if they battle too hard, it can obviously end in tears, we all know. As now it does seem Equinox is safely in P3. If there's going to be any retaliation from Mellow, that is obviously a second question I will ask later into this race, but it does seem he might be retaliating going into Magnus Beckett, as that was a car locking up significantly going into Corpse. That seemed to have been Martin. He is currently facing the wrong way going into Corpse there. It does seem he's going to lose a lot of time there, and he has just unfortunately lost that position to Max as well. Now going back on board with the fight for P2. Now Equinox was able to catch up quite a significant amount on Skittle, as we do also see Fake Mellow, and as well as that Dusk starting to be involved with this. Dusk, who was the original leader of last race, definitely has the potential and pace here for tonight's races. There's going to be a huge lunge here from Equinox as we go into the final chicane. There's going to be a big lock up there. He was able to get by, not a very legal overtake to say the least. Stewards might be frowning at that one there, as we do see as well. It is going to be Fake Mellow trying to go up the inside. He tries to go two-way there as he almost gets two positions done into one corner. We almost saw that with Lewis Hamilton. Once again, is what we do see now is Dusk trying to get by Skill there. Skill almost being demoted two positions there in the complex of one corner, as Dusk now tries to go for the outside line, going to the farmer's curb. The leap is going to be a perfect advantage point here for him, so he gets the inside line, but this is going to be a spinning car, and it's going to be two of the Pragas unfortunately having contact between the two, and that is going to be quite a bit of damage there for Skill, unfortunately. But we're going back on board now with Dusk, as now Tusk is all in sights now with Fake Mellow. So we have 7 minutes of racing left to go between the two drivers, as we do see they're both got to get a bit hesitant going into left field, as we do actually see Skittle was able to gain quite a bit of time there. Now going into the GT start finish line here, this is going to be side by side going into Corpse. This is very sketchy to say the least. He goes very, very wide there. Almost releases the car actually. As it stands, it's going to be Memcube in P1, Dusk in P2, as well as we can see Fake Mellow in P3, Skittle in P4, Equinox P5, Martin P6, Max P7. Tommy is not highly good. Ratio tonight currently in P8 by quite a significant amount. Now, as we can see, it is starting to be a bit of a relaxing ratio for Memcube as we go on board with him. Currently now a 7.1 second gap between him and Dusk as we go on board with Dusk here. Seems to be what we need to be watching here. Is what we can see is going to be Skittle trying to launch here on Mellow for position here. He tries to go for it, almost achieves it, but says absolutely not there, Mellow, as he blocks the inside line going into the exit of the chicane here, as we do now go on board with onto the start finish line on the Lewis Hamilton straight. Now it's going to go side by side here going into Abbey. It does seem it's going to be Skittle who was able to get the momentum before even having to use the corner to his advantage there. But is there going to be retaliation here from Mellow? He's close enough. He's definitely aggressive enough as he tries to go side by side here, going into the farmer's curve once again. Can he do it into the leap? We've seen this before. It did not go down very, very well, to say the least. But has he gotten his position back? No, we can't get the momentum. It's still going to go side by side here, going into the Wellington straight. And now it is still going to be in the same position now as Skittle remains in P3. Mellow in P4. But we do see Equinox lurking, trying to gain any scraps from this battle that we do see that we have occurring here between the two drivers of Skittle and Mellow. We do see oh, that's going to be a bit of a mistake there from Skittle. That's going to be quite an easy move there for Mellow. Mellow having obviously the higher downforce car, being a Formula 4 car there, as it does seem he's going to be able to get by. But this is where we're going to see Skittle fly past in his car, which definitely has more power than Mellow's Tatuus here. As we go into Corpse now, it does see the tyres are starting to die off now for Mellow, as we can see a lot of understeer there, but that's going to be an oversteer moment going into a wall at full speed there. Is going to be a race ruiner there for Mellow. He keeps going, but he is going to have significant front end damage there. I would be surprised if he still has a wing left after that, as it does seem he still has a wing, but obviously with ACC collision physics, unless there is no damage, there is definitely damage on the servo. I saw how wonky that wing is. He is not going to be winning this race here tonight, unfortunately. That is going to be very, very bad luck there for Mellow. It's getting too much oversea there. With 4 minutes left to go now, we're going back on board with the leader, Memcube, now going on to approach his 5th lap here. Currently 5.7 seconds behind, well, in front of Dusk, sorry. But that is going to be all that's currently stated in terms of it. We see two semi-battles starting to approach. It's going to be Skittle and Equinox. But what we saw earlier, Dusk setting the fastest lap time all around with a 206.1, which is the best lap time I think we've seen all night here. So he is definitely starting to show quite good pace here. Four minutes left to go. There's 3 minutes left to go now as we send. Does seem though Tommy again having a bit of an accident now with Dusk there. Dusk going down into P3 there. That's going to be another fight that's starting to happen here between the two drivers. It's going to be Skittle promoted up into P2 once again. And that's going to be, is that Skittle gone? No, that's going to be Tommy gone again. It seems unfortunately Skittle, having to avoid that incident of Tommy, has unfortunately sacrificed his position of P2 there. And that's going to be Dusk going back up into his original position with absolute ease there. And this is where we're going to see some sort of retaliation potentially between the two cars. There's not going to be a big surface area on Dusk's car, so slipstream between him and Skittle is going to be very minimal. But between, if Dusk gets a slipstream from Skittle, it's going to be absolutely voluptuous by the size difference between these two cars. As we do see Max off again, unfortunately, going into the same corner of Luffield. A bit of a gap now starting to form between the two drivers, but we also see this could be Equinox once again wanting to fight for P3. If he could get 3 for 3, that would be brilliant for himself. Currently 100% podium rate here, could be lost here if he unfortunately loses tonight's race into P4. So we do see that is going to be another, that's a huge spin there from Martin. I believe that was Martin. I'm not sure who. I think that might have been Tommy, unfortunately. Yeah, that was Tommy. Well, currently it's going to be Martin putting a bit of pressure here on Fake Mellow. They're going to go side by side going into the chicane. But as it stands, it's still not going to be enough for himself to get by. As it does seem it's actually going to be Fake Mellow, unfortunately, spinning there. And that's going to be a very short end to that race there, unfortunately, between the two drivers. But that's still going to leave us with 1 minute and 40 left to go. And this is going to be now Memcube approaching onto his penultimate lap as he goes into Luffield. There's a 10-second gap between him and Dusk behind him, which is a brilliant amount of time here. Memcube absolutely doing a brilliant job so far. Been very, very consistent. I'm not going to jinx him just yet because we might have another lap left. We most likely have another lap left, but obviously it might be a bit unpredictable here. It seems the only battle that is starting to approach again is going to be Skittle and Equinox. These two drivers being quite big rivals here for tonight's races. Starting to gain a bit of time here, but we do actually see now Dusk is on his, well, he's on a mission here. Unfortunately, he's not going to have enough time to complete his mission, but he has been able to shave 1.5 seconds out of Memcube's time here. Memcube still probably having quite a relaxing, yet probably a tiny bit of a boring race to say the least. But obviously, this is still going to be him winning the race. Is it going to be another lap here, or is this going to be the final lap here? 10 seconds left to go through the chicane. I don't believe this is going to be another lap here. This is going to be here. Memcube, the leader, has 2 laps to go. I'm not sure what that is then. So I'm assuming it's a second lap. I'm not sure what that actually is. So it is going to put now Memcube in a worse position than Dusk here. Dusk already saving out another second here. He's on the hard tyres now. An interesting choice there from him. So that could actually mean he's probably well off. No, but Memcube's on those medium tyres. Medium tyres are predicted to last 7 laps pretty easily. But the amount he's shaving out now, Dusk, with obviously this extra lap, could be putting Memcube under quite a bit more pressure than he would usually be under. But I don't think Dusk is going to have enough time to shave out another 7 seconds. As we can see him entering Luffield now in the corner of your screen. come through corpse for the final time. 7.2 seconds now between him and Dusk. Is going to be quite a high time here between the two. Memcube now entering his Maggots Beckett. Do seem Dusk being able to take it 4 seconds in just a lap is quite nice to say the least. If he had, well, potentially another lap, he might have been able to get. Well, it's not over yet, so I'm not going to say anything. But I was going to say, if he had another lap, he might have been able to get Memcube here and potentially fight, well, fought for the lead. But again, that famous saying, it's one thing to catch a driver, it's another thing to get past him here. But we do see this is going to be him entering the chicane for the final time as we enter and approach onto the Lewis Hamilton straight. Also, it's the start-finish straight here, as we do see now it's going to be Memcube winning the second race here and the final race here for tonight's race. It's going to be a brilliant job here from Memcube, taking a 10-second gap, but does seem a brilliant job here from Dusk, who was very consistent, shaved out 5 seconds to the lead to definitely put Memcube under a tiny bit of pressure. It's going to be Skittle taking P3 here for tonight's race, as well as Equinox taking P4, as well as Martin taking P5 here in the number 36, Praga R1. Then there's going to be quite a big gap to say the least, as we have to go all the way back to the chicane here. Unfortunately, Mello didn't have the race he wanted. He nearly did, but unfortunately had that spin earlier into Luffield. It's going to be now him entering the start-finish straight here. So now we have, unfortunately, again, the two drivers as he spins out on the straight there. There's a brilliant job not to crash there as well, but that's currently him in quite a vulnerable position to say the least. Now, as we do see again, Max currently no, he's not the lowest scoring Praga, but he is the driver currently in 7th position as he comes through the fast right-hander as he comes onto the Lewis Hamilton straight, as he takes P7 here for tonight, as we do have to see Tommy. Now, only in Maggots Beckett, Tommy not having the brilliant race he would have wanted here for tonight. Ending a P8 in both races as he comes on to the hangar straight here. He doesn't seem to be able to keep this car under control, which is unfortunate here for him. It is now going to be him getting ever so closer to the end of this race as he comes through the final corner here, as I'm now just going to quickly change the scene here as we go back into the intermission tab. Skittle, how do you think your race went, mate? Or Argo, I don't know what to call you. What do you want to be called, mate?
Yeah, Skittle works, but yeah. But my race went fairly alright, I'd say. Surprise win for the first race. That's actually a first. That's actually a first for me, I think.
Really?
For like a fairly failed grid at least. Like the only one I ever did otherwise was like 4 people or something. So yeah.
Now
So,
with
yeah,
the last 2 laps, we obviously saw you under quite a bit of pressure to say the least. With you and I believe it was Martin, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember that well. How did you find yourself? How composed were you during those last 2 laps? Because that got pretty intense pretty quickly.
Now I will say, like at least my strat, if I'm like in behind someone, is like to kind of feel him out. But I'm quite surprised he was just chilling out back there. So like, if it was like, I think my racecraft is quite alright. So I was quite confident in that. But I was surprised that he didn't even like try to fake me or anything, or try to get alongside at any point. I think it was just waiting for me to make a mistake. So just focus on that, just not make mistakes, I guess. Yeah.
That's pretty decent response to
Yeah,
it.
good.
Going on to the second race. Obviously, it was that reversed race grid. Obviously, starting, I believe you had to start P7. Tommy, unfortunately, not finishing the race, so he was still in last. You did a brilliant job once again, ending up in P3. Obviously, it was quite chaotic over the first few corners there. Did you see yourself in any danger at all between any cars?
at least at the first, think 2 or 3 corners, there was like a bit of dodging going on, yeah. And with a couple laps later with Equinox and Fake Mellow as well, or not Fake Mellow, he changed his name, um, but yeah, when like the guys in front of me suddenly got close and personal, so. But I'm surprised I didn't get any damage now. Like that's kind of survived quite nicely, I think. So. But yeah,
Now,
that was eventful, yeah.
my final question, and then you can leave. In terms of tyres, because I know quite a few people, well, in the Tatuuses at least, were complaining
Mhm.
that the soft tyres were dead quite quickly during qualifying.
Mhm.
Were you having the
Yeah.
same overheating issue and tyre wear issue?
Yeah, I think that's a thing between like the Tatuus and the Praga. I think the Praga is more of an endurance car, so the tires last longer as well. But um, yeah, at the end you do kind of feel like the tires being a bit more sketchy. So you look at that, but like I just handled that pretty nicely, I think. But yeah, definitely the softs, at least on the Tatuus, they die like in like 2 or 3 laps or something. So yeah,
Uh,
those yeah.
well, brilliant speaking to you. Congratulations on your win and your podium. So you can now
Thank you.
successfully say you have a. Actually, no, this is round 3, isn't it?
This is round 3, yeah?
I was going to say
Yeah.
you have a 50% win rate. Never mind. Brilliant chatting
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, if you want to count race 2, because that was like a bit of a hassle, but like, I think I won one there as well, so
Have
might
you
still be a
had any other
50% rate.
podiums? Or is this your
I
first
think,
podium at all?
no, I had a couple podiums, yeah.
I
And
wasn't
like,
doubting you.
but nah, I'm happy. I'm happy today. Had fun. Also with the lads, so yeah. Good day, good race.
Brilliant result here from you, obviously. Congratulations and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna
Yes.
join the last again.
Base
Later.
base. That was Skittle, the driver who won the first race, came P3 in the second race, but now it is going to be my time to say goodbye here. It's currently 8 p.m. in the UK time, so it's just been over an hour of racing here, to say the least. And it has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you for everyone who participated in today's race. Obviously, all of the standings are provisional because obviously stewards have to do their bit in it, and obviously doing steward counting. But thank you very much for listening into the stream. Have a great rest of your evening, and goodbye.